Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So remember the last class you were talking about how to update multiple employees on our employee table. Let me select that table so that you can see the difference. Let me select the database. So you can see that some of the employees, okay, this is so this is the update statement to update um all the female employees. We are updating the agenda back to female from male. So update employee information, that's update table, set gender equals to female, where employee ID is equals to 100, and where employee ID is equals to 101. So you are going to select all the employee IDs for the females you have on the row. This 100, you know, with the name Git Edison, you know it's female, but it has a male gender attached to it under its gender column. So we are trying to change all the female employees. We are trying to change their gender to female. So if you execute this, you should have You're not supposed to use and, you're supposed to use or. So this is wrong. So you're trying to update all the female employees. You're trying to update them to their gender to female because we made a mistake the last time. It wasn't a mistake. We're just trying to show why it's good to use the where clause to give a condition. So I updated all the gender to male, and we have female employees in that table. So that's why I'm trying to update everything at once, all the female employees. Let me select the table again so that you can see the difference after I run that statement. So I've already updated some, but we still have some that are not like this Jane and I've updated most of them because I was trying to test the or statement. But the or statement is the or operator is what you use to specify multiple conditions when you are trying to update different rows. So you can see 8 rows affected. If you select everything from the table, you can see all those employee ID that we specified alongside their ID values, and we gave a command to update their gender to female. They've been updated. So you use the or operator to give different conditions. I was using the and operator before, but it's the or operator we're supposed to use. So Samson, do you understand this one? Because you're the one that asked this question in the last class. Okay. Yeah, my table has been updated. So you can try it on your own. Yours has not been updated. I think you guys still have your gender as male. That is if you be following the script. I sent this script to the group after the last class for you guys to run all the whole stuff you did in class. So just try it on your own table and see the difference. So now this is to delete 2 rows. Normally we used to delete 1 row. That was I think that was the last delete statement we used. Delete from employee information where employee ID is equals to 107. So now we are trying to delete 2 rows, 109 and 110. So if I run this, I shouldn't see this last rows we have, that is 109 and 110. All these syntax, there are so many ways they use them, so it just depends on the condition they ask you to use all the syntax. So that's why I'm just trying to give so many examples, so many instances. So using and just use all. Sorry, 2 rows affected. So let's go back and select. You can see we don't have those rows anymore. That is the employee ID of 109 and 110 has gone because we deleted it. I have to insert them back because of the next statements I'll be running. So I'll go back and insert them. So that's the statement for deleting multiple rows at once. You just have to specify the ID of the row. That's why primary key is very important. That's why I told you once you are creating a table, it's good to create an ID, a primary key for it, so that you can identify each row with the ID, because they are very unique. Once a table has a primary key constraint, it automatically has a unique constraint and a not null constraint. So this statement selects all from employee information where employee ID is equals to 110 or salary is equals to 9,000. So I think we've done something similar. It's going to give us the employee with the ID of 110 and the employee with salary of the employees with salaries of 9,000. But in this case, we only have one employee with a salary of 9,000. Assuming we have multiple employees with salary of 9,000, it will bring out those rows also. But in this table, we just have one employee with salary of 9,000. So that is all for this statement. All these are still select statements. I'm just using them with operators and the where clause to just give different instance. Now look at this. Update employee information. Set salary equals to 65,000. 650,000. Okay, 65,000. Where employee ID is equals to 103 or second name like Okon or first name like Joy. I told you why we are using like for the second name column is because it's a text data type. That's how we have to use like. And the first name too, the column, the data type for it is text. So that's why we are using like. So now I'm expecting this statement to make the employee with ID of 100 make his salary 65,000. Then any employee with the second name of Okon, his salary is supposed to be 65,000. Then anyone with first name of Joy, the salary is supposed to be 55,000. So what do you mean? The salary is supposed to be 65,000. So now after running this statement, the employee ID with 103 has to have a 65,000 salary. Second name of Okon, any employee with second name like Okon has to have a salary of 65,000, and anybody with first name like Joy has to have a salary of 65,000. So let me run it. 3 rows affected. So let's go back and check all these conditions and see if the salary has been set to 65,000. So I'm going to run this. So you can see 103 employee ID with 103 has a salary of 65,000. Any who has second name of Okon, yeah, 108. The employee with second name of Okon has 65,000. Then first name like Joy. Okay, this is it. First name like Joy. So you can see their salary records have been updated to 65,000. So now this is another. So this is another operator we have, which is greater than. Select all from employee information where salary is greater than 3,000. So now what is this going to do? It's going to give me all the employee in this table that has a salary greater than 3,000. So let me run it. So you can see we don't have any employee with a less salary here. all the salaries are greater than 3,000. If I run this other one, you see this I think this is 1,300. This salary is 1,300. So you can see it's giving me the employee where the salary is less than 3,000. But for this one is giving me the employees with salary greater than 3,000. So that's the difference, and that's the way to use this sign. There's another way to use it too, alongside the equal to sign, alongside the equal to sign. So select, so what is this saying? Okay, select all from employee information where salary is greater than or equals to. So this statement is just telling us select all from employee information where salary is greater than or equals to 3,000. So if I wrote this, it's just the same, it's almost the same thing like this greater than, but this is going to start from, it's better to use this when you're trying to get salaries that are greater than or equal to 3,000. So it's going to start counting from 3,000. So it's just to just be more specific about the limit, that is the limit of your record. You want the limit to be 3,000. So you can also apply this to equal and equals. Let me copy this. I want you guys to run it separately. So this is saying select all from employee information where salary is lesser than or equal to 3,000. So you can see our results. It's the same thing like this one. Now we are going to use the between. The between is just trying to tell the engine to give us a result set between a particular value, and the between operator is used for values like numeric. You cannot select between names. You cannot select between names. You can only select between a range of value. So select from employee information where salary between 30,000 and 40,000. So I'm selecting it. So you can see these are the only employees that their salary is between 3,000 and 4,000. If we cross check in the whole table, you see you can see this one, the employee ID is 109 and the employee ID with 101. So you can see it. Now select from employee information where salary between 30,000 and 40,000, or first name like John. So what is this going to do? It's going to give us the employees with salary between 30,000 and 40,000, or the employee with first name like John. So you can see here we have two employees with John. So it has given us those with salary between 40,000 and 30,000. Sorry, 30,000 and 40,000. Then those with first name like John. So I'm just trying to combine these operators in the select statement. This other one, select all from employee information where salary between 30,000 and 40,000, or position in accountant or data engineer. So what is this supposed to give us? It's supposed to give us the employees with a salary information between 30,000 and 40,000. All the employees that are in the position of accountant or accountant and data engineer. So you can see we have the employees with accountants here, the accountants here. We have the data engineer. So let's check for the 3,000 and 4,000. Okay, the employees that are earning 30,000 and 40,000 are also accountants. So the difference will not be as, but it's there. That is it is correct. Assuming we have more information on the table, it will just bring everything out. So moving to the next query, select all from employee information where salary is greater than 40,000 or position in accountant or business developer. So where salary is greater than 40,000 or position in accountant or business. So all these employees, they have salaries greater than 40,000, and it's also bringing out those with position of accountant and business developer for us. Select all from employee information where salary is greater than 60,000. So you can see there's no salary that is lesser than 60,000 here. So now we've talked about greater than, between. You can go back, practice more, look for how to use this syntax in some more complex way. This is complex, but look for how to use them in more complex way and understand them more. So now let's move to another operator which is not in. Select all from employee information where position not in accountant. So I'm expecting to get all the other positions, but anybody that's an accountant, I don't think his record shouldn't show. So you can see, we have a lot of accountants on the table. So we just have 3 other positions, which is data engineer, business developer, software developer. Okay, now select all from employee information where salary between 60,000 and 70,000 and position in accountant. So this is the only employee that has salary between 60,000 and 70,000 and has a position in accountant. So you can see the difference. Select all from employee information where salary between 60,000 and 70,000 and position in accountant. So they are not trying to tell you to select from different rows. We are looking for somebody that has a salary between 60,000 and 70,000 and his position is also accountant in the table. Do you understand? So somebody can just come to your desk now and tell you these are his particular details. Let's say his salary range, then his position in the company, and they have a lot of people in the company. So you just give this select statement, select from employee information where salary between this and the position of the person is this. So it will bring out that details. So this one is just working for this particular person alone, salary between 60,000 and 70,000. But this is saying select from employee information where salary between 60,000 and 70,000 or position in accountant. So anybody that has a salary between 60 and 70,000 or anybody in position of accountant we show in our result set. So that's why when we ran the statement, we had more results, like more information. Now the like is also an operator, but we will not use it. We use like to search for words that with words that are like something like the beginning of accountant is ACC. So you're trying to look for a word that begins with A in the table. You're trying to look for a record that begins with A or ACC or anyone or SOFT, which is going to bring out software. So it's used alongside the percentage sign. So what is this doing? The first three words you put in front of it, or the first two, is going to search for any record in the table that begins with those words. Like this is going to give us the accountant, that the position that has ACC at the beginning. So you can see we have all the accountants. It's used to like search the table for a particular type of word. Like let's say you want to look for something that begins with PR, just something that begins with all those the specific kind of words you are looking for. That's when you use this alongside the percentage sign. If I run this, you should see business. So you can see select all from employee information where position like business, but we didn't put business, we just put BUIS and the percentage sign. Assuming we have other positions that starts with BUIS but it's not business developer, it will bring it out for us. Let me So I'm going to insert this to the table so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me run this again. So you can see now, after inserting the last record I just inserted, but the position is business manager, you can see that brought out two rows for us in the table that has their position starting with BUIS. So that's why it's bringing out business developer, business manager. So moving forward, this next statement, select all from employee information where position like this, that is position like biz or salary between 3,000 and 60,000. So we are supposed to get those employee with information that start with positions that starts with BUIS, or those employees with salary between 3,000 and 60,000. So 30,000 and 600,000. So you can see we have this employee that starts with business, and the ones that have salary between 30,000 and 60,000. Mistake here. Okay, so we have the employees that have their position starting with business, and those that have the salary between 30,000 and 60,000, 600,000. Yeah. Okay. No, it has to be at the back. Yeah, that's why I put it at the back. So the next statement: select all from employee information where salary is null. So I think this is just it's also a very good statement. You're trying to find which column is null under the information table, under the salary column. So, but we don't have any null value in any of these column, so we won't get any results. Yeah, we won't get any results because all the columns under the salary the values under the salary columns are filled, and we give it a not null constraint. That means it's a compulsory column. So that's all about operators. We have more, but concerning these particular ones I've talked about before I move on to the next level. So do you guys have any question? Now you can speak. Yeah, it's the same way. You're welcome. Any other question? I thought something you wanted to talk. Okay, thank you. Okay, no problem. I will. Okay. Sorry. For the percentage sign, you can put percentage at the front, but let me put this. Let me select from the table. So, but if you put it at the front, it's going to look for words that end with this one is this putting the percentage at the back of the words you want to search for is going to look for words that begin with ACC, then the percentage. But if you put it at the back, let's say I put it here. So any word that ends with ACC is going to bring it out, but we don't have any on our table. So let me look for something. Okay, so you can see the words that ends with TANT is giving us those rows in our resources, which is accountants. So that's when you can put your percentage at the front when you are trying to look for words that ends with. But if you put it at the back, it means you're trying to look for those ones that begins with. So is difference clear? So let's move forward. Now we have the SQL case statement. This is, I think this is another level. So let's brace ourselves. The SQL statement case goes through conditions and gives us like an if or else statement. So we are just trying to say if the condition is true, then do this. If the condition is not true, then don't do it. So we can use this in our SQL statements in different ways. But I just picked out one example. There are so many examples on the net, but I'll just explain it to you so that once you are watching all this or reading through any blog or any write-up, you can understand it. So select employee ID and salary. It means you're trying to select the employee ID column and the salary column. Then case. This is the case statement. So case when salary is greater than 6,000, then this is an A-level staff. That should be what you should get in our result. We don't want to see this 60,000 in the salary column. You understand? Then when the salary is less than 60,000, then this is a B-level staff. Then you have to finish it with the end, because after writing all the case, you have to end it. The end syntax is just trying to tell the engine that this is where the case stop. After giving all your case, these are the cases you are giving. When salary is greater than 60,000, this is an A level staff. Then if the salary is lesser than 60,000, then this is a B level staff. So if you wrote this, you won't be seeing salaries again. You will be seeing salary of 1,000. You just know that okay, this person's salary is for the A level staff, or this person's salary is for B level staff. So let me run it. You can see. Sorry, I wanted to remove this salary. Okay, let me put it there so that you can. Okay, I actually want to remove this so that you won't see salary at top. But let's just be clear about this case statement so that you can understand it proper. So you can see for all those that have this is an A level staff column. You can see this is 100,000 and it's greater than 60,000. So that's why it has this is an A level staff. This is 40, so it's less. This is 65. All these are the ones with a salary that is greater than this. But the ones that have this is a B level staff are the salary that are lesser than 60,000. So this column that came out, this no column name, this is not a column in the table. It's just bringing out a case for us. If you go back to the table, it's not like as if you see this column. It's just a column that generated because of the case statement you applied in your query. So if you still run your select statement, it's not like as if it has added to everything is still there, but that column just generated itself because you are trying to give a case. If you remove, let me copy this and put it on that so that you can still have it. See, we don't have that salary column again. So you can just identify the employees that okay, the employee with the ID of this is an A-level staff. You don't need to know why it's an A-level staff. But you know it's the salary that is making a difference. So you know A-level staff normally, even in a company, A-level staff always has a higher salary. So if you see this kind of table, you know that okay, this employee is receiving a higher salary, and this ones with B level staff, this is a B-level staff. Those ones are receiving low salary. So if I come and add, let me give another example. So let me explain this. The case now, when the salary is greater than 60,000, then this is an A-level staff. You should get that. Then when salary is between 3,000 and 30,000 and 40,000. When salary is between 30,000 and 40,000, then this is a B-level staff. Then when salary is lesser than 30,000, this is C-level staff. So let's run this. Where are you getting? Where? Is it where or when? Sorry, I've even been saying where instead of when. Salary 50, how? No, okay. No, I'm just giving this as example. Normally, yeah, I'm supposed to follow. No, you can set it to the way you want to set it, but I'm just giving this as example. So you can see our result now. We have the ones that are greater than 60,000. We have this is an A-level staff. Then for the ones that have salary between 30,000 and 40,000, this is a B-level staff. Then for those that have salary less than 30,000, then this is a C-level staff. So moving on. Does anybody have any question concerning this case statement? This is something new. We've not used it before, but there are a lot of examples. But if you have any questions, just let me know so I'll just run another query. Let me run another query. So I want to change the position information. Let me select. I want to see the whole table so that I will know what to. should use our end after giving all the cases. So if I run this now, what's going to happen? So you can see those ones, those employee with positions of accountants. You can see the results are changed to finance officer, finance officer, finance. All these are null because we didn't give them a case. Let me give data engineer a case. So when is data engineer? So for the data engineer, you should have data administrator as the result. So now you can see the data engineer that was known before. Now that's data administrator as his case. So when it's data engineer, you see data. But now I'm going to remove this. So you can see these are also the positions of all those employees, but we just give them another meaning, another name. So don't worry. I know you'll be thinking, where do we apply this kind of case? But when we start writing stored procedures, you know why it's good to use case. So just understand how to use case. Know that you're just trying to give a condition that if it's accountant, if the result is accountant, then let it be financial officer. If the result is 60,000, let it be this. So it's just like a condition rule. Do you have any question? Okay, so I'm going to move on. Yeah. Okay, where it's near the keyword case. After the employee ID and salary, they put a comma. You have to put no, like how many columns do you select? You selected employee ID and what? Yeah, after salary, you have to put a comma. After selecting your column, you are putting a comma because this case is also a column. You know, case is coming out like a column, so you can see the case. So you have to put a comma, like the way you specify for commas for different columns. So that is it about case. You just have to know that you're just trying to set a condition. Now we are going to the order by keyword. The order by is used to sort records in ascending order by default, or to sort records in descending order. But normally, most of the time when we just use the select statement, we get our records in ascending order. If you notice, it starts from 100. So normally the order by the default order of a result set is always in ascending order. So let me just run that select statement. So you have to put this select statement because okay. You can see starting from 100. 100 to 111. But using the order by is going to make it start from using the order by descending, and you have to specify which column you want the table to descend from. Most of the time, when you want to use the order by or order by keyword, you use your employee ID or your ID of the table, because those are the identity of each rows, and identity always has integer value, which means it's numeric. So it's going to be easy for you to count from largest to the smallest, or from smallest to the largest. You can't start making it order by position descending. No, it has to be ordered by something that is alphabetic, sorry, numeric. So now I used it in the descending order. Select all from employee information where salary between 60,000 and 70,000, or position in accountant. So what is this going to do? It's going to give me the employees with salary between 60,000 and 70,000, or those ones that have positions, accountant positions. Then it's going to start the counting with the employee ID from descending order. So you can see it's starting from 110, 109, 108, 106. If I rule out this, if I don't, I'm not going to highlight the statement, I'm just going to highlight this and execute. See, it's starting from 100, because by default all result sets gives us their results in ascending order, but once you want it to be in descending order, so you can see that's why we have it in descending order. So I just give the difference between the both of them, but it's the same thing even if you don't put this ascending order. You can see. But now, where will ascending order be useful is when you're not trying to use the ID. You know, most of the time this ID, it starts from 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes like it goes accordingly. It increases accordingly. It has an increment. But if I use salary now, you know, salary varies. It's not like as if salary counts from the smallest to the biggest. The employee with ID 100, I think he has the biggest salary, which is 100. So if I want to use this salary as the order of this table now, from descending or ascending, let me change it. Let me just copy this. You can see now it's giving us those with salary, the smallest salary, to the largest salary. Okay, this is the largest salary on the table, from this to this. So you can see it's not really following the numbers again. They are scattered because it's not, the order is not on the employee ID column. The order now is on the salary column. Why the order was very understandable before, from smallest to largest, from largest to smallest, because the employee ID is counting one after the other, like it's going from 100 to 101. The salary is just, it's different. So let me put the same thing. So select all from employee information where salary between 60,000 and 70,000, or position in accountant, order by salary descending. So it's starting from the largest to the smallest. This is another query. Select all from employee information where salary between 30,000 and 40,000, or first name like John, order by employer ID descending. So select from employee information where salary between 30,000 and 40,000, 30,000 and 40,000, or first name like John, then order them by the employee ID in a descending form. So it's starting from 109, 104. So let me copy this. Okay, that's this one. Yeah, their first. No, it's not showing them. Let me see. Yeah, their position is accountant. That's why I say select from employee information where salary is between 60,000 and 70,000. Then all their position is accountants. So these ones that you are seeing is because their position is accountants. That's why. Do you understand? Yeah. Okay. Now we are using. Do you have any question concerning this group by keyword, that is ascending and descending? I want to move on to another keyword. Okay, so I want to use the SQL as keyword. The as command is used to rename a column or table. So we just use the as command to rename your table. So you can see, select employee ID. Employee ID is a column on our employee information table, and first name too. So we are going to select employee ID as ID, then first name as employee first name from employee information. So you can see we're just using this as to rename our column, the name of our column. It doesn't really have too many. I think this is the only way we use it, just to rename a column. But it's not like as if the column will change in the table, but on the result set, that is when I say result set, this result set here, it will change. It's going to change. But if you do a normal select statement for our table, you still get our employee ID as employee ID and first name as first name. But when you want to just run this, when you want to execute this, when you execute this, you see your employee ID as ID and first name as employee first name. So if you want to make this first name have space, you have to close it in quotation. Employee first name as employee first name. But if you put it together, there's no need to give space. See, I used it alongside some other operators. Select employee ID as ID, first name as employee first name from employee information where employee ID is equals to 101, or position in accounting or business developer. So let me run this. So all these results, I'm sure this is the employee ID with 101. Then all these other ones should have position in business, developer, or accountants. We have a lot of accountants in this table. So do you have any question for the ask keyword before I move on? I'm just taking everything keyword after keyword, because for now we just be doing statements till we now go to we start doing joining of tables. So this is clear. Let me move on to the next one. Now, computing result sets. So this is just like a calculation. You're trying to do calculations on your column. Someone's mic is on. Alright, so you're trying to do calculations on your column. A select statement can contain mathematical expressions by applying operators to one or more columns. It allows a result set to contain values that do not exist in the base table, but which are calculated from the values stored in the base table. When you say base table, like the table you created, the base table is the table you created. All these tables we receive here are result set tables. They are tables that the engine created on its own, but the base table is the table you created. So how do you compute a result set? You compute with the ask keyword also. So look at this statement very well. Select employee ID as ID, first name as employee first name. You can see I'm giving space, that's why I'm putting quotation. First name as first name, salary as current salary, then salary times 10 as next year's salary. So all the employee in the table, their salary is going to be multiplied by 10 to give this column of next year's salary. Let me run it so that you can understand. So you can see we have a column next year's salary. This column is not in the table, it's just on this result set. For all the employee now, for their current salary, we rename salary column to current salary. That's why it's showing current salary. We name first name to employee first name. We name employee ID to ID. So now this next year's salary is just like you're just trying to calculate. Let's say a company now, they increase their employee salary every year by 10% or by one value share. So you're trying to just calculate that salary based on the current salary you have. That's why I gave this column current salary, then multiplied by 10 for the next year's salaries. That's why we had this result. Now moving on to the next one. Select employee ID as ID, first name as employee first name, salary as current salary, then salary plus 10 plus 100,000 as next month's salary. So if I run this line, it's too wide. So if I run this particular line, you can see select employee as ID, select employee ID as ID, then employee name, sorry, first name as employee first name, this is employee first name, then salary as current salary. These are the salaries we have in the table. So we just use another name for it. Then salary plus 100,000 as next month's salary. So this is it, next month's salary. Then come here, I'm just trying to show you how to use them with different computation. Plus you can use division also if you have more columns, just depending on the conditions that you all the tasks you are told to carry out. Select employee ID as ID, first name as employee first name, salary as current salary, salary minus 10 as pension deduction from employee information. So let me run this. Execute it. So you can see we have minus 10 from everybody's salary. To check what we have minus 10 from everybody's salary. I'll still drop this script on the group so that you can run all these queries again. So do you have any question concerning this computing result set? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it just gives us the results. No, this okay. You're talking about all this like this pension deduction column. I told you it's just like a result set. It's not as if you're adding it to the table. It's not going to be added to the table. But okay, no, 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 no. You don't go back how you created. That's you have to update your table. You have to create a pension deduction column. That is, you have to alter table, create pension deduction, and start updating the table with all these values. But this, but no, no, no. That one is a different kind of query. But you can update everything like this at once. But we are not there yet. I don't start complicating things yet. But you're saying something that is not like as if you have to print this result set. You can actually print out result sets, but we've not gotten to that point. You can print out result sets. You can print out this kind of information. That's why do this kind of sets. Yeah, yeah. That, yeah, that's why we have this kind of result sets to print them out. You don't necessarily need to add them to the data, the table itself. So I think you guys understand this computing result set now. Okay, so let's move on to the distinct statement. So the select distinct statements used to return only distinct different values inside a table. A column often may contain duplicate values, and sometimes you only want to list different values. What they mean, all this English, they're just trying to tell you that let's say you have four positions as accountants in your table. Using the distinct with that column is going to bring out only one accountant in that table. So if I run this now, select distinct position from employee information. So you can see we have I think we have up to like 7 accountants, but it's just selecting only one accountant. Assuming we have so many business developers, it will only bring out one. It's just trying to select everything as one. Let me give us normal. So these are the positions for different um, employees. But now we just want to know the positions we have in the company. It's not like as if we want to know all the employees that are accountants. We just want to know, okay, let's say we want to know all the, they come and they ask you
We want to know all the positions we have in the company. You don't have to start repeating accountants again. You don't have to start writing. You just want to know the exact. So you just do this, and it just bring everything for you. If you have so many business developer, it's not going to bring out all those rows. It's just going to bring out the position. That is the exact value, not the duplicate one. If it's repeated, it will just bring it out once. That's when we use distinct. So we normally use it for to avoid repetitions. We are trying to know the amount of um, an attribute that we have, not the repetition. We don't want to know it if it's repeated. You don't want to know the exact amount of it. What other example can I give? Okay, let's say we have a car registration company now that is registering car. Then so many people be using Honda, so many people be using Toyota and the rest. But the company now wants to know the brand of cars that they have under them. They don't have to start selecting everybody. They just want to know the brands of cars they have, so they can just write select distinct brand and car brands from the table they used to store their car information, and it just bring out only the brands of car, not everybody with their type of cars they are using. It just bring out the brands, so they will know that okay, in this company we are dealing with Honda, we are dealing with Toyota and the rest. So that's when we apply the distinct keyword. Why I'm using it with salary too. Just let's say you want to know how much all these salaries you pay. If you are paying 20,000, what if you are paying 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 in this company? We just want to know the kind of salary we pay, not who we are paying it to. So if you use this now on the salary column, you will know that okay, in this company we pay 1,300, we pay this. Okay, so it's just to specify the amount of a particular information you have. So we also have aggregates, which is count, average, sum. We have mean too. We have max. I didn't put them here. Let me run this first. Do you guys understand this thing before I move on to the aggregate functions? Okay. So it's the syntax is going to be there on the script. I'll still drop it. Any question? Okay, so now the counts. These are aggregate functions. Aggregate functions are used to do some calculations on columns. Perform calculations on columns. We have max, average, sum, mean, and count. So if you use the count in a column, you're just going to count the amount of rows we have. Let's say you use count on position. It's going to count the rows in position. Let me select. For your employee ID, we have how many employees? I think we are up to 11. We have 11 employee. So select count employee ID from employee information. So it's giving us the count. If I run the select statement for the information table, we have up to 11 employees. So select count employee ID. So it's going to count it for us as 11. So I'm using the count with distinct. Select count distinct employee ID as count results from employee information. So now this is having so many keywords. We have the count keyword, we have distinct, we have as. So I'll explain it for you. Select count distinct employee ID. So you're just trying to count the employee ID in the table, although this will still give us 11 because the employee ID has unique values. There's no repetition, so it will give us 11. So count the distinct, that is, count the distinct value of employee ID. So if employee ID has repetition of values, it will just pick only one and count it. Then give us the result as count result from employee information. So it's still 11 because employee ID using distinct, we know the meaning of distinct now. You're just trying to say you don't want to repeat words, you just want to know the amount of the exact values we have. You don't want any repetition. So if I put position here, let me put position here. This position is going to come out as 11. It's counting all the positions in the table, but this one is counting all the positions in the table without repetition. So you can see it's not counting accountant more than once. It's just counting all the positions without any repetition. So do you understand these two queries or statements? Okay, I can continue. Okay. So yeah, it's just, I told you about as the as is used to give so it just giving us count result as the name of the column. Yeah, let me just let me remove it. So you can see it just give it the column. So select count position. I've done this. I didn't even know I wrote this statement down. So this select max salary as maximum. You cannot use it on name, address, all those kind of things. You can only use it on values. Select max salary. Select the highest salary from employee information. So if you have a table with rows of like 1,000, you want to know the highest profit. If it's profit, it doesn't have to be salary. We're just using this table for instance. Profits, everything, you want to just select the highest profit on the table. You just select max salary. So this the maximum salary we have on the table. Where is it? This business manager is the maximum salary. So you can see select max. So you just know that okay, in this table this is the maximum salary you have. So now I want to know the minimum salary. Should be 1,000 or something. So this is 1,000 or 13,000. Sorry, this is the minimum salary we have in the table. Then this for average. That is the average of the salary. It's calculating the average salary in the column, in the salary column. Average now. We just do addition of everything and divide it by the amount. But we are not doing all this calculation. SQL is doing all this calculation for us. So you just put average, then includes it, open a column and open a bracket and put the column and close the bracket. All these are just names that we are applying for the columns to give us a proper result. If you remove them, it will still give us a result, but you see it will give you a no column name. Select sum. This is the addition of all the employee salary. Select sum salary as sum of salary. So this is the addition of all the employee salary we have on the table. So do you have any question?
So we are going to talk about the group by clause. The group by clause helps us partition our result into more subsets. So I'm just going to, I don't really have any too many instances to use the group by clause. So select employee ID as ID, count asterisk as count employee from employee information, then group by employee ID. So the group by is similar to order by, but this you're just trying to be more specific in your aggregate function, with your aggregate function, because the group by is used with aggregate function, mostly count. This ID now, assuming I have employee with, let's say, ID of 100, we have three employee with ID of 100, the count will be 3. If we have employees with let's say we have 3 employees with the ID of 103, the count will be 4. So you're just trying to group it by the ID, then give a count to it if they have a repetition. That's how you use the group by clause alongside. But we don't have so many instances to use it here. We can only use it for, we mostly use it for IDs, but for now our ID is very unique. There's no repetition, so that's why we're having the count as 1. It's the same thing, just write it twice. So that's when we use the group by clause. Yeah, no, you can't group it. You have to group by a numeric yeah, numeric data. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you have time to give example of constraints. Now we've talked about a lot of syntax, so we just, next class we'll just keep on advancing on our syntax. I'll look for more select statements, then upper week, that's when we start building companies database, like database for different companies, so that we can see, sorry, not upper week, but after upper week we'll do that one. We have to still talk about joins, but constraint is very important once you are doing the architecture of a table, because once you are doing architecture of a database for a company, or you are going to a company to, let's say, continue from where somebody has stopped, you have to understand constraints very well. So we've talked about some of these constraints. We've used not null, we've used primary key. So but I'll explain it again one after the other. Not null indicates that a column cannot store null values. Check ensures that a value in the column meets a specific condition. So if I'm designing a table and I add the check constraint is only used when you are designing table. You don't use it in the select statement, and it's just when you are designing table. So if I'm designing a table and I put the check constraint on a column, let's say I put check on the salary of a table, and I say check salary greater than 5,000. So on that table, if you are trying to put anything lesser than 5,000, it will tell you that there's a check constraint which says you cannot input anything lesser than 5,000. All the values on this column must be higher than 5,000. That's when we use the check constraint. Then unique ensures that each rows for a column must have a unique value. So we apply unique constraints to columns like phone number, matric number, and the rest. But matric number in most databases are always primary key, and primary key is a combination of not null and unique constraints. So if you apply primary key to a column, automatically that column will have not null and it will have unique constraints, which means it won't be able to store null values and it can have a repetition of values. So foreign key ensures the referential integrity of data in one table to match values in another table. So this foreign key, take note of it, is what we'll be using in our joins. Referential integrity of data in one table to match values in another table. So it's foreign key we use to link tables to one another. Foreign key. So just take note of it. When we start linking tables, we'll be using foreign key. When we start doing joins of tables, we'll be using foreign key. primary key is a combination. I've talked about this. Then default. Okay, primary key is a combination of null, not null, and unique constraint, and ensures that a column or combination of two or more columns have a unique identity, which helps to find a particular record in the table more easily and quickly. So that's like the importance of primary key. So default constraints specify a default value when specified none for this column. So if I add default constraint to a table, let's say I'm creating a table now, and under the let's say money price, I'm creating a table for a store, and I'm trying to give price to every goods available in that store, and I'm putting default column, default constraint, sorry. So and I put default of 6,000 under price column, like I give price column a default of 6,000. So automatically, if I'm filling information in that table and I don't insert anything into the price column, 6,000 will be filled automatically into that table. Do you get? So automatically that table will just have 6,000. That's why they said when a value is not specified for the column, it will specify a default value for you. So that's it. That's all about the constraints. I didn't do anything because I know we were going to stop around this area. So do you have any question concerning this constraint? Okay. Okay. Yeah. You have unique constraints, then we have primary key. Unique constraint ensures that, yeah, I want to go over it again. Unique constraint ensures that each row for a column must have a unique value. So when you say unique value, it means this value must not be repeated. This primary constraint now, if you add the primary constraint to a table, it's a combination of not null and unique. So automatically that column will not have repetition of values, and it will not have a null value. That means you must put values into it. It's a compulsory column. So that's the meaning of primary key. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So there's another constraint that is not here, which is identity. But identity is used for alongside your primary key. Well, let's not talk about that one today. We have done a lot. Any other question? Yeah, I was saying I wanted to tell you guys to do something. I forgot it. Okay. So I'm going to drop one database in the group chat. Then you have to back up that database to your SQL server. So I'll just drop the database. Then on your own, you have to learn how to back it up. I've not told you guys how to back up database, but I just want to give you guys something you should do on your own. So I'll drop the database. That is a full database on the group chat, on the WhatsApp group. Then you save it to your phone, to your laptop. Then you have to back it up to your SQL server. So you have to just learn, like watch how to back up, how to restore a backup file to your SQL server. It's very easy, but I just want you guys to search on it so that you know how to search your stuff.
Yeah, you. Okay. That is on the GUI table itself. Yeah. You go to tools, you go to options, then you go to designers. Then I think this place will be checked, so you uncheck it and you click OK. So you should be able to modify your table. You're welcome. So that will be all for this class. Then next class we'll be talking about these constraints. We'll be using them, like we'll learn how to apply these constraints to our table. Then we'll talk about foreign key and joints. So thank you guys for attending this class. I'll see you guys on Saturday evening. That Saturday you guys don't normally come, so I'll just be dropping. I'll drop the video. He's always waiting for you. No, seriously, Saturday is wedding, and for me, if I'm to go to wedding on Saturday, I'm not even sure I will have time for class. So, but I don't have any wedding coming up now. Yeah, okay, okay, I understand. Which church you attend? Oh, okay. You can know yourself now. That's why it's a WhatsApp group. It's still around Kuji. Yeah, it's still around Kuji. That's. I just came to ABJ recently, so I've I've been around Kuji. But I work in Wusi. Wait, Samsi, you're not staying in Abuja. Okay, okay. All right, now we'll see ourselves on Saturday. Yeah, you're welcome. Good night. Good night.